Tonight is the birth anniversary of Lady of Light, Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha. May Allah inshallah grant us light. So I said one of the key concepts in Islamic spirituality is the concept of light, which is one of those concepts that has potential for explaining everything, whether it comes to Allah Himself or to creation or legislation. We already talked about Allah being the light and about the light from God that cannot be extinguished by enemies. Indeed, when they attempt to extinguish, Allah will make it even more complete. And then we talked about the verse 1 of Surah Al-An'am, which says, Alhamdulillah alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal-ard wa ja'ala adh-dhulumati wan-nur. So we said we can talk about creation and we can talk about giving light and darkness. Allah doesn't say khalaqa adh-dhulumati wan-nur. He said ja'ala adh-dhulumati, because dhulumat don't exist. Yeah? It's relative. Did he talk about books, divine books or not? We reached here, I think, huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
The end of the session I was not present.
Oh.
I went to my class.
I see. So, every creature has some degrees, every creature, some degree of light. Most of creatures also cannot add to their light and cannot reduce their light. It's fixed. If you look at plants, animals, insects, even angels, their light will not, increase or decrease. It's that they can do something more or less so that the light changes. But human beings have this potential of adding to their light or reducing their light, like jinns who have free will, in the sense of making choice. Therefore, in the Quran we find that Allah has given everything light, but then for human beings we have journey from darkness to light when they move in the right direction, and their light will be increased. Or God forbid, maybe they move from light to darkness. And all the prophets and messengers have come to take people from darkness to light. And divine books are also illuminating, they give light, so if you use them, you can move towards more light. Okay? For example, in Surah Al Imran, verse 184, فَإِن كَذَّبُوكَ فَقَدْ كُذِّبَ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ. If they reject you, this is not the first time. The same behavior has happened before towards other messengers. جَاءُوا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالزُّبُرِ وَالْكِتَابِ الْمُنِيرِ. If you remember in the discussion about the book for interfaith, we said Allah doesn't talk about Al-Kutub al-Munira. It says Al-Kitab al-Munir. This is a very fundamental issue. Ja'u is plural. Rasul, Ja'u. Bayyanat, plural. Zubur, plural. But when it comes to Kitab, Al-Kitab al-Munir. Because Allah has sent only one book, but different editions. One author, one title, but different editions. People think these are different books. Therefore, sometimes in the Quran, kutub is used. But what the messengers have brought is one book. One religion, one book, one sirat, one God, one humanity. This is different aspects of Tawheed. Surah Fatir, verse 25. وَإِن يُكَذِّبُوكَ فَقَدْ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Very similar to the previous ayah. جاءتهم رسلهم بالبينات وبالزبر وبالكتاب المنير. Again, Kitab al-Munir. So, divine books are there to help us gain some light for finding our direction and making proper decisions, making proper steps towards destination. Or in a reverse way, in a negational way, Allah says, Surah Al-Hajj verse 8, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَلَا هُدًى وَلَا كِتَابٍ مُنِيرٍ. Anbiya have Kitab al-Munir, but there are people that they don't have knowledge or guidance or illuminating book. Or in Surah Al-Luqman verse 20, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ at the end, مِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَلَا هُدًى وَلَا كِتَابٍ مُنِيرٍ. This is general. But in particular, the Quran talks about Torah having light, Injil having light, and Quran having light. Okay? Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 44. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إنا أنزلنا التوراة فيها هدى ونور. In Torah there is light and guidance. Otherwise cannot guide people. Surah Al-An'am verse 91. In the middle of ayah, قُلْ مَنْ أَنزَلَ الْكِتَابَ الَّذِي جَاءَ بِهِ مُوسَى نُورًا وَهُدًى لِلنَّاسِ. So Surah Al-Ma'idah says فِيهَا هُدًى وَنُور. Here says نُورًا وَهُدًى. Very close to each other. Injil, Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 46. In the middle of ayah about Isa alayhi salam. آتَيْنَاهُ الْإِنْجِيلَ فيه هدى ونور ومصدقا لما بين يديه من التوراة وهدى وموعظة للمتقين. So Injil has light, Torah has light, Quran has also light. We have actually more verses about Quran having light. Surah Al-A'raf verse 157 is one of the verses of the Quran which is very important for tabligh, and it has lots of points. الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل. What does this Rasul do? يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر ويحل لهم الطيبات ويحرم عليهم الخبائث ويضع عنهم إسرهم والأغلال التي كانت عليهم. So he's a liberating person. He has come to liberate people. فالذين آمنوا به وعزروه ونصروه واتبعوا النور الذي أنزل معه أولئك هم المفلحون. This nur, this light which is sent down with the Prophet is the Quran. And it is interesting that instead of saying unzila ilay, it says unzila ma'ah. We have unzila ilay, for example, for kitab, etc. But unzila ma'ahu is something special. And it seems that it shows that between Quran and the Prophet there is ma'iyya. Sometimes someone is given a book and he himself has nothing to do with that book. But when Allah gives a book, then there is a ma'iyya between Allah, between the book and the Prophet. Surah Ma'idah verse 15. يا أيها الكتاب قد جاءكم رسولنا يبين لكم كثيرا مما كنتم تخفون من الكتاب ويعفو عن كثير قد جاءكم من الله نور وكتاب مبين. Surah Nisa 174. أنزلنا إليكم نورا مبينا For us, Allah doesn't say أنزلنا معكم. Yeah, for Rasulullah says أنزل معكم. For us, أنزلنا إليكم نورا مبينا. So we have نور وكتاب مبين, and we have نور مبين. I don't know if I explained for you why it is mubin. Because someone says nur must be mubin, because nur by definition is something which is clear and clarifies other things. But I said, although nur is always clear, but it doesn't mean that every person can see the light. There are some types of light that we cannot see or notice. For example, light of angels. Even if we are surrounded by angels, we cannot see their light. Light of Allah, we cannot see. Even light of Iman, we may not be. Sometimes we can see that in some people there is light of Iman, but in many times we cannot see, or there are people who cannot see. But since Quran is a book of guidance, its light is of a nature that can people of open heart understand. Even someone who doesn't know Islamic history, theology, and even someone doesn't know Arabic, just sometimes by reading translation of the Quran, they can see that there is light here. And also there have been cases that people actually saw light coming from the Quran, like Karbala Kazim, who was seeing light coming from the Quran, was inside, an Arabic text, like Mughni. When they tested him, they showed him, for example, Mughni. And he was quickly referring to the verses of the Quran because he was seeing light coming from there. And I have heard also some people who embrace Islam, they had this experience, that they saw light coming from Quran. But in addition to this aspect, the light of guidance is available for people who are opening their hearts. So it's Nur al-Mubin. Surah Taghabun verse 8. فَآمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَالنُّورِ الَّذِي أَنزَلْنَا. Surah Shura verse 52. In the middle. وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا نَهْدِي بِهِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. So in 5 verses, Quran is introduced as a book which has light. Okay? So all divine books are Kitab al-Munir, and in particular Torah has light, Injil and Quran. Okay? Then about journey from darkness to light. The first is ayah, after Ayatul Kursi, verse 257 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Allahu waliyul ladina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. Allah is the guardian of the believers. One aspect of his wilaya, which is the main aspect, is to take people from darkness to light. Okay? Then his messengers also do the same thing, because there is a hierarchy. Surah Ma'idah verse 16. Yahdi bihillahu man ittaba'a ridwanahu subul as-salam. With the Quran, Allah guides those who seek His pleasure and follow His pleasure towards the ways of peace. Subul is plural, but Sirat is singular. Do you know why?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the question. Because Sirat cannot be different, since the human nature and the aim of the human nature and the creator of all and the religion is only one, and there is unity for all of them applied. So the Sirat should also be one. But Subul can be different according to the capabilities and the differences and the potentialities of people. So not all the people are coming from the same potentialities and talents, so they may use different things to reach one fact and one real, actually.
So Sirat refers to the general path,
Yes.
which is Ubudiyya.
Yes.
ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. This is one.
And
But then, how you serve as a child, as a father, as a mother, as a brother, as a sister, as a student, as a teacher, as a neighbor, as an employer, as an employee. These are different aspects of this general path of Ubudiyya. These are called Sabil.
Ain Saad Ali Safai Hari in his books, he says that all of these subul should lead to Sirat,
Of course.
because the Sirat is the widest road.
And what is also amazing is that the Quran says in each of these path, the aim is to reach salam, peace.
Subul as-Salam.
So in your personal life, social life, family life, economy, politics, everywhere we should reach peace. And Quran is the book of peace. Yeah? And we have night of peace. And heaven is the abode of peace. And Allah is peace himself. Yeah? Salam. So it's very interesting. So with the Quran, Allah guides people. Yahdi bihi Allah bihi, with the Quran, guides those that are following His pleasure. Subul as-Salam, ways of peace. وَيُخْرِجُهُمْ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ بِإِذْنِهِ, and takes them from darkness to light. بِإِذْنِهِ. This بِإِذْنِهِ is also very important. In some lectures, I have explained that this is normally when guidance is in the form of إِيصَالِ إِلَى الْمَطْلُوبِ, not just showing the path. If you want to actually take someone to the destination, it needs permission. Even for himself, it's amazing. We don't say, I do this with my own izn. Yeah? Unless, someone, asks you, why you are doing this, who gave you permission, you say, I do it with my own. But Allah uses for Himself. يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور بإذنه. So it's not only He uses for Isa, تخرج, for example, تحيي الموتى بإذنه, or for Rasulullah داعيا إلى الله بإذنه. Yeah? Even for Himself, يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور بإذنه ويهديهم صراطا مستقيما. Sorry, يهديهم إلى الصراط المستقيم. Surah Ibrahim, verse 1. ألف لام را كتاب أنزلناه إليك لتخرج الناس من الظلمات إلى النور بإذن ربهم. This بإذن ربهم comes. Without izn of the Prophet, of Allah, the Prophet cannot do this. Surah Ibrahim, verse 5. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى بِآيَاتِنَا أَنْ أَخْرِجْ قَوْمَكَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. Okay? So, as I said, Allah وَلِيُّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يُخْرِجُهُمْ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ, but also the messengers are supposed to do this. Since light has different degrees, so even for someone like Prophet or like mu'mineen, true believers, still the light can be increased. Yeah? Only Allah has perfect light, absolute light. Otherwise, even for the Prophet, light can increase for mu'mineen also. For example, about mu'mineen, Allah says in Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 43, هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. He is the one who sends his salutations to you, along with his angels, so that he would take you from darkness to light. So, Allahu waliyul ladina amanu yukhrijuhum min al-dhulumat ila al-nur is working through sending salutations. Yeah? And this is part of Rahimiyya of Allah. وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. So through his Rahimiyya, he sends salutations to the believers to take them from darkness to light. And إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
Shows that he is continuously sending salutations to the prophets. Therefore, he is continuously giving light to the prophets. So, because he is continuously receiving light, then what happens is that after receiving light, you will be enlightened. But if you receive more light, then you become a lantern of light. You become Sirajan Munira. Yeah? Like a magnet. Magnet first attracts the iron. Then little by little this iron becomes itself a magnet. Yeah? So a mu'min receives light, but then later becomes a source of light for others. Okay? Surah Al-Hadid, verse 9. هو الذي ينزل على عبده آيات بينات ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. So if you manage to understand how to put pieces of puzzle together, you see Quran is giving very clear message. But you have to have clue and put these pieces together. Now everything makes lots of sense. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُمْ لَرَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Again, this is Rahimiyya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that takes you from darkness to the light. Surah Al-Talaq, verses 10 and 11. أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا فاتقوا الله يا أولي الألباب الذين آمنوا قد أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا رسولا يتلو عليكم آيات الله مبينات ليخرج الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات من الظلمات إلى النور. Here, first says أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا, then says رسولا. Either this can be badal or zikr can be the prophet, because Imam Raza said the prophet is zikr and we are ahlul zikr, ahlul bayt or ahlul bayt. Or maybe because of that ma'iyya which is between the Quran and the prophet, because anzalallah ilaykum dhikran rasulan, so means like two sides of the same coin. We sent you the Quran, we sent you the messenger. They are in harmony with each other. They supplement each other. And then about the prophet himself being the source of light, we don't have this in. Is it disconnected?
No.
No? No? Okay.
It seems not.
We have a reference to all the books being book of light, Kitab al-Munir. We have reference to different messengers taking people from darkness to light. But there is only reference to the Prophet of Islam being Siraj al-Munir. It doesn't mean they were not, the others were not, but this is on the record. It's emphasized. It's emphasized on this. Surah Al-Ahzab, yes.
you mentioned that nur and light can be increased because
For human beings.
yes, because Allah is the only one that has perfect light. So even for our prophets and imams, this is true.
Yeah.
So when at that level that they have actually they has no that level of light. So is it true to say there is darkness at that level? Actually, it's not true, I think. But when there is no light, so what is there?
Lack of any degree of light is darkness.
So we can
So only Allah
describe. for
has
example-
no darkness.
No, for example, for our prophet. So his light actually is increasing, and this is the endless process. So at that level that he actually doesn't gain, for example, that level of light. Can we say there is darkness at that level for prophet? We can describe our
does
prophet.
his light increase or not?
Yes.
So before having that light, which is increasing, so it's lack of light.
Yes.
But because there is so much light, we don't say he's in darkness. But if you want to talk philosophically, so even if you lack epsilon of light, with respect to that epsilon, you are dark. Only Allah is free from any lack, any loss. Ya Nuro, Ya Quddus. But for the Prophet, we cannot say Ya Nuro, Ya Quddus.
Nur ma'ah.
Huh?
For the Prophet is ma'ah.
Yeah.
And something else comes to my mind about this, the same question.
Yes.
And that is إن ولي الله الذي نزل الكتاب ويتولى الصالحين.
Yes.
So the guardian of the prophets also is the Almighty God.
Yeah.
And the Almighty God is the one who يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. So this constantly happens even for the prophets.
Yeah.
So-
But because he has lots of light, we don't say he is moving from darkness to light, because light is so much that the other side is, overshadowed by this.
You're disconnected, I think.
I am disconnected? Okay.
Yes?
It seems so, yes. Just now you got disconnected right away.
Let me check this.
Can you see me?
Still not.
Point, you are called muqarrab, but even muqarrabun are not at the same level. Okay, so some are closer, means some are farther, but we don't say they are far from God.
Yes.
Although relatively, when we compare them, we can say one is closer, one is farther, but we don't use this language because we are in a very close realm to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when light is very high, then we don't say they are in darkness. We say they are going to have more light. But philosophically it's the same. Even if you lack one epsilon of light, means with respect to that one epsilon, there is no light, it's a dark. Not that you are entirely dark. No. Actually, there is no absolute darkness. Okay. The other point that we understand from Quran is that light has only one source. Yeah? Every goodness comes from Allah. Izzah, where does Izzah come from?
إن لله العزة
Only from
ولرسوله
Allah. Man kana yuridu al-izzah,
فإن
فلله
العزة
al-izzah. Yeah?
ولرسوله.
If you want light, also from Allah. Quran says, من لم يجعل الله له نورا فما له من نور. Surah Nur, verse 40. If Allah has not given anyone light, so he has no light. So it means that you cannot create light by yourself. You cannot borrow, you cannot buy, you cannot steal light. Light comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Then about acquiring light, increasing your light. Quran says one way to acquire more light is to embrace Islam, to have faith. Surah Zumar, verse 22. أفمن شرح الله صدره للإسلام فهو على نور من ربه. So again here, light comes from Allah. You just open up your chest. شرح الله صدره للإسلام فهو. Opposite to this, because the question is not complete here. You have to guess. أفمن شرح الله صدره للإسلام.
فويل للقاسية قلوب.
For example, is it the same as someone whose chest is not open and does not have light? Yeah, but you understand yourself. The second part. Then فويل للقاسية قلوبهم من ذكر الله. This shows that the opposite group are the people that their heart is hard and cannot remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From this ayah we can understand that Iman is also a matter of remembrance of Allah. Iman is zikr. Yeah? Zikr includes Iman. Surah Al-An'am, verse 122. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فأحييناه وجعلنا له نورا يمشي به في الناس كمن مثله في الظلمات ليس بخارج منها كذلك زين للكافرين ما كانوا يعملون. Again, this is the acquired light. This is not the light that Allah gives to everyone at the beginning. This is the light that comes when you have Iman, you practice righteous deeds, so you gain a new life and light. New life and light. We talked about Hayat al-Tayyiba before. من كان ميت أفمن كان ميتا فأحييناه وجعلنا له نورا. This nur, this light doesn't come in the hereafter. Right now. يمشي به في الناس. When he is walking on the street, when he goes to shop something, when he goes to the school, goes with light.
يسعى نورهم بين أيديهم.
That's the day of judgment. That's about the day of judgment. But even in dunya, the light is there. So if you go to, for example, classroom with light, if you go to shop with light, what happens? If you go to parliament and you have light, if you go to government and you have light, what happens?
You can see everything clear.
Pardon?
You can see everything clear.
You can better understand. You can better decide what to do. You attract good people, relate to good people. Yeah? So everything goes better. There is no guarantee, because your light might not be too high that would, guarantee you don't make mistake, but you are in a better position. Maybe the right side, because they have the book of their a'mal on the right side. Okay? Or their ashabul yameen. So they have light, and this light is going ahead of them to show the path, and is excited, is moving fast. Yas'a. بشراكم اليوم جنات تجري من تحت الأنهار, and they will be given bishara that they can enter gardens beneath which rivers flow. خالدين فيها ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. Then verse 13 of Surah Al-Hadid, the next ayah, says that munafiqin, hypocrites would say, why we don't have lights? let us take from these people their light.
نقتبس من نوركم.
يوم يقول المنافقون والمنافقات للذين آمنوا انظرونا انظرونا means look at us or let us. Okay, either look at or let us take some of your light, not all of it. من نوركم. Some of it for you, some of it for us. قيل ارجعوا وراءكم. Then it will be said. Who is going to say? We don't know. Not mu'minin. Apparently, not mu'minin. قيل ارجعوا وراءكم. Go backward, return. فالتمسوا نورا. Seek light behind. Perhaps it means, have you done something in the past that now you can have light, etc. So when they are sent away from mu'mineen, a wall will be erected. فَضُرِبَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِالسُّورِ. There would be so up to that moment there was no wall. They could see mu'mineen and see that they have light. And they were tempted to ask to get their light. But now they cannot even see them. Okay?
Because maybe also this is a kind of light because they see them. But
Now they cannot see
they
them.
do not see.
Yeah. But it's amazing that this wall lahu bab. So always leave some room for connection. Yeah. Why there is door? Because there must be a hope. If you have very bad enemies, still behaving the way that there is a hope that maybe one day we can for example have good relation. If your child runs away from home, don't say I don't want to see you at all, I never see you, etc. Leave some room. I'm not saying there is no exception, there are exceptions, but I'm saying this is the general rule. That there must be a chance for tawbah, as Allah does with us. Yeah? He says we can always come back. So there is a door. Also, there is ability of sending voice. They cannot see, but they can talk. So communication continues. So remember, put a door, even if you close it, but don't make it wall. It's a door. And let communication continue. So, this sur lahu bab. باطنه فيه الرحمة وظاهره من قبله العذاب. When you put a door, how do you decide which part is inside, interior, which part is outside? باطنه فيه الرحمة. So it means that the doors inside is towards mu'mineen. Outside is towards kufr, the munafiqeen. Why? Because this is not the wall of a prison. Wall of prison is to stop prisoners coming out. So, batinhu azab. The door of prison, batinhu azab. But this wall is protection, like home. Batinhu rahmah. Okay? So sometimes you want to keep criminals in one place, so you put a door so that they cannot, run away. Sometimes you want to stop criminals to come in. So then the door's batin is towards the people who are inside. Okay? So batin fiha rahman. In the winter, for example, outside is cold, very cold. Inside is warm. So this door inside is warm, outside is cold. For people inside it's a blessing. Of course. Yeah, but why we say batinu fi Iran? Because inside is toward good people. Then Allah says, Yunadunahum. This is why I said communication can continue. Yunadunahum alam nakun ma'akum. These are munafiqin, not kuffar. If they were kuffar, they would not say alam nakun ma'akum. But munafiqin, mu'mineen are living together. Okay? Maybe children of the same family, maybe students of the same institute. Okay? So, mu'mineen and munafiqin are together. So, they say, alam nakun ma'akum. What does it mean?
Means that
It means that we were together. Why now you are so special that we cannot even look at you? Why there is wall between us? In dunya we were together. There was no partition, no wall. Why now it's like this? قالوا بلى لكنكم فتنتم أنفسكم وتربصتم وارتبتم غرتكم الأماني وغركم بالله الغرور. Yes, we were together. We had the same situation to begin with. But you caused all the problems to yourself. Okay? No one was against you. But you delayed, you doubted, you let shaitan deceive you or desires to deceive you. So this is your situation now. Okay? So this is the light of mu'mineen on the day of judgment, which is so visible that even munafiq can see. But mu'mineen, even in dunya, yamshi bihi fin nas. They have light in dunya. It's not that in dunya they don't have light, only in akhirah they have light. In akhirah becomes very obvious. Surah Al-Hadid, verse 19, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرُسُلِهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصِّدِّيقُونَ وَالشُّهَدَاءُ عِندَ رَبِّهِمْ لَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ وَنُورُهُمْ. Whenever you do something good, you receive ajr and nur. Ajr maybe comes in heaven, but nur comes right away. This ayah is very beautiful. لَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ وَنُورُهُمْ. Even wuzu has light. Al-wuzu al-wuzu nurun ala-nur. Salat has light, Hajj has light, Ziyarah has light. Okay? And the light is not the same. So the light of Salat is different from the light of fasting. The light of Hajj is different from the light of Ziyarah. Okay? Each has light. Lahum ajruhum wa nuruhum. Surah Al-Hadid 28. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وآمنوا برسوله يؤتكم كفلين من رحمته, maybe means in dunya and akhirah, ويجعل لكم نورا تمشون به, in dunya, but of course it remains for akhirah, but it starts in dunya. ويغفر لكم والله غفور رحيم. And then we have some more verses, but I think our time is over. So inshallah we continue Bismillah next week. We ask Allah to increase our light and save us from regret on the day of judgment. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.